Don't mind me. It's not even 6 a.m. yet, and I'm just waking up. Hi, my name is Crystal. I was inspired by Source this morning. That's what my mom calls it. My mom calls it inspired by Source. Some people say God speaks to them. I used to say my dad inspired me. I used to say that a lot when I would wake up in the middle of the morning, not quite really awake. I'd have all these thoughts and all these brilliant ideas in my head popping, pop, 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 like popcorn popping in my head. And I didn't know what I was thinking. I just was surprised to hear all these thoughts. And so I think that's why people call it something else besides their own brain. They call it like being tapped into a higher power. My mom calls it Source because she feels like she's connected to the universe, and that's where all of my universe beliefs come in from. My dad didn't really believe in God, but he did believe in energy and that we all survive as energy after we die. And so if he is floating around in some universe energy field, I believe I can tap into him and feel his love and feel his energy. And my dad, I feel it would talk to me right when I was falling asleep or right when I was waking up, the most often. Sometimes I felt like I would hear him at other times. And then, of course, a lot of people who are Christian or religious otherwise might say they are tapping into God or some other creator. And so I just want to talk about what I woke up with. Popcorning. I was popcorning. That's a new phrase. I'm just going to call it. My brain was popcorning this morning. Isn't it funny how I keep coming up with all these food things? We've got Operation Strawberry. We've got the noodles. We've got popcorning. I can't remember any other food analogies, but I keep coming up with food analogies. Oh, his pie is done and cooked. I didn't come up with that one, but I loved it. Why? Probably because it's food. I always said when I was a kid, why don't they name streets or cities, why don't they name things after food? Why can't you live on Strawberry Pie Lane? Or why can't you live on Noodle Avenue? Why aren't people named after food? I want to change my name to Crystal Noodles. I seriously want to change my name legally to Crystal Noodles. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay, I'm getting off track. All right, so I want to just draw this diagram that came to my mind as I was waking up just a little bit ago before I forget it. So you know how some people have a dream journal next to their bed so that they don't forget what they were dreaming about? I had those for years, dream journals, but they didn't make a whole lot of sense because I was trying to write as quickly as I could in my barely woken up fogginess, and my handwriting was illegible and I had no idea what I was talking about. Months later, hardly remembered the dream at all, but because I'm talking to my video journal, I want to remember this in a very concise way. We're going to do 4 quadrants here. This is what I had in mind, okay? Let's say the 4 quadrants of my life, okay? I've got my kids. Number 1, my kids. Their love, their livelihood, their success, their tolerance, their childhood memories and experiences, their innocence, their guilt. Everybody's got guilt, right? Or is it guilt or is it sin? That's probably, everyone's got lessons that they're going to learn. I don't think you have to be guilty or sinful to have lessons. Everyone's going to go through life and have lessons. Okay, so that's kids. I don't want to get sidetracked. Let's do this. Let's do work. Okay. Work. And connection. So I got kids, self, work, and connection. I'm really not sure what I'm thinking about anymore. Can we try to remember? Can we try? Okay. Not that long ago, I was talking to Brian, and he was talking to me about logic and emotions and how the bridge of understanding will help connect that two. And so I drew a diagram, and the bridge between logic and emotions is really communication, and it's really patience, and it's really I really don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying the bridge, the gap between Jim's logic and my emotional needs. There needs to be some bridge of understanding, right? And so let's also connect these with bridges, okay? We've got a bridge here, a bridge here, a bridge here, a bridge here. There's also this bridge here that connects to everything. This bridge connects everything. Now, what is this bridge made of? Let's just start. This bridge is definitely made up of things like balance. Okay? If I was a workaholic, I'd never see my kids. If I was a helicopter mom or a stay-at-home mom or a mom that was constantly in my kids' space and not allowing them to grow without me, if I kept them in a bubble and I never let them expand to the world around them, that wouldn't be very balanced. If I was constantly at work and I never saw my kids and they just felt like they were always being babysat or neglected or forgotten about, then that wouldn't be good either. So the balance, that the bridge between these two parts of my life is balance. Same with self. You definitely need balance. All of these are going to be parts of the bridge, but I'm going to come up with another bridge thing. We've got I'm going to call this one acceptance. I feel like I'm inspired by Source or my Father or God or whatever the universe, whatever you want to call it. This bridge is called acceptance. And the reason why we're going to call this one acceptance is because when your children, not your stepchildren do not seem to count for this for some reason, unless if you're a really great step parent. I don't think you have to be a great step parent. Let me put it this way. In my experience, step parenting and step kids is a hard thing. I have been a step kid. I am a step kid, and I am a step parent. And there is a huge disconnect between an actual kid and a step kid. There's something just innate and natural of your own biological kid versus a step kid. However, I have seen the rare exception where step parents and step kids can look at their step kids and step parents as their actual kid, their biological kid. There's absolutely no difference. So maybe this is not a blanket statement. So don't take what I'm saying as true for everybody. But what's true for me is that when you're an actual parent versus a step parent, or when you're an actual step kid versus a biological kid, there is this level of acceptance that is vastly different between the two. And I don't want to get too far into this, but okay, when it comes to loving yourself or loving your kids or both or whatever, you know that even if your kid, your own biological kid, was to do the most horrible thing in the world, you'd still love them. There's an acceptance about them. There's like this unconditional love piece that you could never get away from. Oh, I'm sure you'd be disappointed at some point, several points. I'm sure you'd feel this tug of, contempt that you might have for them. At some point, you may not talk for many years. You may have fear or anger. When you have kids and they aren't exactly what you were hoping for because of whatever choices they made or whatever trauma they've gone through or whatever peers they allowed themselves to be influenced by, whatever is going on with that kid, you still have a love for them and an acceptance for them. And it's not ever going to go away. Even if it doesn't look like the Brady Bunch or Full House, it doesn't have to look that way for you to still accept them in a way that you will stand by them. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's my understanding. That's my understanding about love for kids is so unconditional. The roots run really deep. That's probably a great way of saying it. The roots run really deep with your own biological children. And they don't run so deep with the stepkids. And my stepmom did not have deep roots for me. And my stepdads did not have deep roots for me. And I didn't have deep roots for them either. And same with my stepkids and even my step-granddaughter. The roots just don't run that deep. And it's not my fault or their fault. It's just not the same when it's not your biological children. There, I said it. I have had people accuse me of not being a very kind stepmom before. And I'm not trying to be rude or unkind. I'm just saying how it is. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. That doesn't have to be your experience. But my experience is that there's a vast difference. Now, same goes for self. The self is very fluid. Sometimes you love yourself, sometimes you hate yourself, okay? More often than not, you are not all that thrilled about yourself. Maybe you don't like the way you look or the way you think or the way you talk or the way you socialize or the way you isolate or your bad habits or your addictions. Maybe you don't like yourself very much at all. But the bridge of understanding between yourself and your kids should be the same. It should be acceptance. Like no matter what you do or what your kids do, it's the same. You need to have a love that runs deep. The roots need to run deep to love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, work on that. Because that's what I'm trying to say to myself. Crystal, work on it. Because if we negate ourselves, if we abandon ourselves, you need to treat yourself like your own child. There you go. That's another way of saying it. People have said that. Even in that book that we read this last month. Yeah, month and a half. I don't have no idea. It's Christmas. I have no idea when I started that book. But anyways, it said to talk to your inner child self. Love yourself the way you didn't get loved as a child. Hold yourself. Appreciate yourself. Give yourself that space. Because there is an acceptance that you always longed for as a child, just like your children do when they're children. And even as they're adults, everybody, even my husband who is falling apart, knowing his wife is going to leave him at some point, and he's constantly living in that fear. When you reach down to the child self, all they want is acceptance. All they want is love. And so if you yourself is having a hard time in life, acceptance is one of the biggest things. There's your bridge of understanding. I don't even know where this stuff is coming from. It's all just coming out of my head right now. All right. Let's see if I remember the other one. gone? Hold on. Channeling the universe, or source, or God, or my father, or who am I channeling? Who am I channeling? We're channeling the gods. We're channeling the gods. Channeling the gods like Zeus and Athena and Hercules. Is Hercules a god? I don't know my gods. I don't know my Greek mythology like I think I should. Why are we thinking of Greek mythology? You should put the lid on the marker so that it doesn't dry out. What did we wake up thinking about this morning? We thought about something this morning. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 da 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 da. There it goes. There's his goes. There's a popcorn again. There's their popcorn again. Okay. Where'd it go? We forgot already. Tell me again. I forgot what you said. I forgot what you said. And power. Power. Okay, we got it. You ready? Okay. We got it. This is what it looks like to be living in your power, in your source, in your awesomeness. You've got some awesomeness inside you too. And this is what it looks like when Crystal Noodles is living in her power and having a little party in her head. We're having a party in our head. It's time to start the party and talk about what we wrote down. Okay, sorry. Jeez, Crystal. Okay, so we've got our other bridges that we had to just jot down before we forgot them. Okay, so now between the quadrants of work and connection can look like anything between you and a partner, or you and a friend, or you and a family member, or you and a neighbor that you barely talk to but see once in a while, or even just person at the grocery store, right, that you just say hi to. So when you have a connection, a moment of connection, where you feel that lightning, whoa, there's a spark between us. It doesn't have to be a love interest kind of spark. It doesn't have to be like that. But when you interact with someone, let's say you didn't have any contact with anybody for like let's just say a whole year. Some people had that. Some people during COVID didn't talk to anybody. That might have been very lonely for them. But the minute they did start talking to somebody, right? Or if you were to be isolated for a year and then all of a sudden you have a connection with somebody, even if it's just one person at a store and someone said, "How are you?" and you go, zing, like bam, that connection, that spark, that's a very powerful spark. Even if it's not love, even if it's not a whole long conversation, people long for connection. We all long for connection. And a friend of mine recently called her skin, she has a skin, oh shoot, what did she call it? I don't remember what she called it, but she said she has a need to be touched. She has, she can feel her skin being lonely if she doesn't get touched. And I think that has a lot to do with her attachment style as a child. Maybe, skin on skin contact with the mother may have may have been healthy or maybe it wasn't healthy. Either way, she's got a skin sensitivity that if she hasn't been touched in a while, when someone touches her, she can feel this rush of endorphins, you know, oh my gosh, what am I talking about? Oh, is it an O? O? Speak to me. What am I saying? Oh. I don't know what I'm saying. Why would you ask me? I don't know. I was just channeling what you were saying. What was it called? What was it called? What was it called? Oh. Oh. When somebody... Crap, come on. What's it called? You're filming. Hi. Endorphins. That's the word we came up with. Is that the right word? When you have a mother's touch and she's touching you as a child, there's hormones that run through your body, but we can't remember the word. We want to call it, it starts with an O. What would it be called? Oh my gosh. We have an Alexa. What does it call, Alexa? What is the hormone called when mothers... Oxytocin! See? Sorry, I'm not sure. Yeah, you don't know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Alexa. As soon as I started asking her, my brain was like, well, that's what it's called. Duh. Oxytocin. You get a rush of oxytocin when you have a connection, whether it be just verbal or sometimes skin touch. Okay, now, that is what connection is. Work fills you with purpose. It fills you with belonging. If you actually feel belonging, like you feel like you belong, if you like your job, or even if you just feel like you tolerate your job, you feel like you have a sense of purpose. You go to work, you do your job, you come home, and you might get a paycheck. Might. Even if you don't get a paycheck, even if you're just volunteering, you have a sense of purpose. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It gives you a reason to, it might even give you a reason to get dressed in the morning. It gives you a sense to get up. So even if you're not working, what are you doing to spend your day? Are you volunteering? Are you making other types of connections throughout your day? Even if you're not working and even if you're not volunteering, even if you're just working on yourself, or even if you're just taking care of your kids, what is filling your life with purpose? It could be anything. It doesn't have to be work. But for me, my quadrant is work. And why is my quadrant work? Because it gives me a sense of power. And there's with great power comes great responsibility. So it doesn't have to be the type of power that people are against. You don't have to have an evil type of personality to appreciate power. You can have power in a balanced, healthy way, like a Jedi Knight doesn't abuse their power, like Spider-Man uses his powers to fight evil, but he doesn't abuse his power and fight good as well. You know? Right. Exactly. What? Huh? Yeah. Uh-huh. You're looking at it. I have the power to choose. There's nothing wrong with that power. I have the power to choose. If I am in a situation that I don't like, well, I have the power to choose. I can choose to get out of that situation, and even if I can't, I have the power to choose what I think about it, what I feel about it, what I'm going to do about it once this moment is done. Am I going to be upset? Am I going to find purpose in it, meaning? Am I going to talk about it? Am I going to journal about it? Am I going to go to sleep and just let it go? Am I going to dissect it and dig and dig and dig and figure out the whys of why I was in that situation that I don't like? Am I going to write a book about it and inspire others on how they get out of their own situation? There's so much I can do because I have the power to choose on what I do with whatever is going on in my life. I don't have to be a victim in my circumstances. I have the power. I have the power to be a victim if I want also. I can choose to think that way if I want. Okay. So there's great power in your work. There's great power in your connections that you have as well. If you have toxic people in your life, you have the power to choose how much interaction you have with those connections. If you have a friendship that you value a lot, you have the power to continue that friendship and grow that friendship, nurture that friendship, maintain that friendship. And if you don't, that's your choice. You have the power to choose. And if that friend doesn't really care for your level of participation in the friendship, they have the power as well. And maybe they think you're too needy. Maybe they think you're too much. Maybe they think you're too clingy. Maybe they think you talk too much. Or maybe they think that you're too one-sided in the relationship. Maybe it's not good for them like it is for you. There is still power in that because you could learn from that. You have the power to learn from that. You have the power to communicate and take in somebody else's experience and say, all right, why isn't this working for you like it is for me? Maybe I've got something to learn from this. So there's great power between the things that we're doing within our relationships, and there's also great power in things that we're doing at work. If you don't like your job, you have the power to choose a different one. Even if you think you're stuck, even if you think that you don't have the power, even if, let's say, you've decided, okay, well, I don't want to choose another job right now, or there isn't a whole lot of options for me right now that I am aware of, I have the power to keep looking. I have the power to keep trying. I have the power to keep applying, keep interviewing, keep smiling, and I have the power to do what I need to do. I have the power to make connections and move up the chain, not negotiate. What's that word? No. What's that word? It's an N word. When not negotiate, when you make connections at work, in careers, you make connections, you not negotiate. What is that word? Oh my God, we're having brain farts this morning. What's that word? What's that word? Tinkerbell's looking at me. She thinks I'm talking to her because the tone of my voice. Maybe we should ask the little round box. We just thought of it. This is what the power of meditation does. It clears your mind. Network. Okay, you could network and get connections at work. And you can get, when you network inside your job and you basically communicate to others in other departments or other branches or other, just network, get to learn all that stuff. You have the power to learn more and to grow your skill set, and you have the power to show off, or you can have the power to humble yourself. You have the power to dress a little better when you go into work and impress, or just ask somebody how their day is. Network. Talk to someone about their cats. You can talk. You can bring donuts in for everybody. I don't know if you want to anymore with COVID, but you can basically do a lot of things to improve your situation at work, because you got the power. You have the power. So you have the power to do all kinds of things. You have the power to choose. All right. So between kids and work, there's balance. Did I talk about that one? I don't remember. Wasn't that the first one we talked about? Yeah, it was the first one we talked about. Between kids and self, there's acceptance. Between work and connection, there's power. Now, between self and connection, there's kindness. Now, here's what I'm going to say about kindness. When you're not kind to yourself, your self-confidence diminishes a little bit more. When you're not kind to yourself, you get a little smaller. Same with your connections. When you're not kind to your connections, your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your guy at the grocery store cashier, your spouse, your partner, your dogs, right? Your dogs could be a form of connection. Your cats, right? When you're not kind, those relationships dwindle as well. So the relationship with yourself and the relationship with others is extremely important. So when you have these two quadrants in your life, if you have too much focus on one and too much focus on another, what is